move along a little bit and delve into Shutter Click Adventures and tell us what you're doing, and then we'll dive into it a bit more about it after that.
So, back in, I don't know, it was the end of November, beginning of December, I started talking, I had this idea, and it was, I kicked it around with AD a little bit, with Mitch a little bit, Russo, and with Lisa about, so it seems like as photographers, one of the things we all want to do is we want to travel, but how? You know, how do we get out there? How do we, as photographers, how do we get out? But then let's, you know, reverse that role, and as a beginner or novice or intermediate photographer looking to want to go take photos with somebody, how do you know you're getting a quality person to go? You know, I've done a couple of workshops, and one of them actually is with a friend of mine that's on the site, and his was great. You know, that's actually how I met him, and we've been friends ever since. But I got to go on a couple that weren't as great either. And so my dilemma was like, well, how do you go, I want to go on a workshop and spend hard-earned money and know that you're going to get something good. And I was like, and so that was kind of my dilemma. And so my thought process was, well, why not build a site, contact people that are good photographers to see if they want to do trips with, you know, with this. I'll do all the legwork, all the bookings, all the paperwork, and then myself and a much better photographer like A.D. Wheeler will go with you. And you know, we'll go have fun, we'll go shoot photos and experience these other cultures and travel together, and you'll come back with amazing photos. And so I started talking to people, and one of the things it seemed like is people didn't know how to contact a company to set a trip up so they could do it on their own, or they didn't have the time, or those things. And so I got lucky because of, you know, what my dad used to do, travel. My dad used to have a travel business. I talked to him, and he kind of got the ball rolling for me. And so the idea was you can come here. All the photographers are other than, you know, other than me for the most part, are known well. They've done this. They're all, you know, experts in their field. And so I had this idea of how to make it work. And so I approached, you know, I started with AD and talking to him, and came up with something that we thought worked. And so I went, well, if this is going to work, let me see if it works. I mean, you know, at first I went, well, AD's, you know, wanting to help me and help me go down the road of, you know, doing more photography. Let me ask Stu if this would work for him, Stu Davidson. And he goes, yeah, that actually sounds like a lot of fun. And so I felt really honestly, I was very blessed with that, because it's scary jumping into this, especially with a family and everything. And so I felt really blessed that both of them said yes. And so I started putting this together, and as it was going, I started getting more interest from people inside the Arcanum, and especially in A.D. Wheeler's cohort, you know, people that I've gotten to know over the last year. And before I knew it, and it really wasn't, there wasn't like this whole plan. I mean, as far as, you know, when Pete and those guys do stuff, you know, they got this plan, and mine was more, I'm just, you know, kind of rolling with it and to see what would happen. And the next thing I kind of knew, I had this awesome trip with Caleb, and this idea to do stuff with Mitch, and, you know, this workshop with this person, and this trip to Scotland, and everything started kind of moving together. And then everybody started talking about Iceland, and everybody wants to go to Iceland. And so I talked to Pete along the way, kind of let Pete know what I was doing, just out of honestly, I have a lot of respect for those guys. I think they're, you know, that they're willing just to sit down and chat with us about ideas or about what we think we can make something better is really cool. I mean, I love that as a business concept, that you're willing to be open like that. And so I kind of talked to Pete and said, hey, here's kind of what I'm doing. And actually, when I showed him, I had this whole other name for the thing at the time. And I said, you know, I'd like to do some stuff that was Arcanum only, and at really good rates, to try to get more people to be willing to travel if they want to do landscape. And I didn't know what that was. Just, there was this idea. I mean, this whole thing was more of let's get together and shoot photos as a group and help each other and enjoy a travel experience together, as opposed to a hard, fast, this is a business, da-da-da. It was like, that just didn't feel good. And so I said, well, why don't we do next year, why don't we do February, Iceland, Arcanum only? And
Wow.
I kind of said, I said it kind of just goofing off in the cohort, I think, and just a chat.
Yeah.
And somebody went, that would be awesome. And me and I'm going to do it with Mitch Russo because he's been there 8 or 9 times. And I went, Mitch, what do you think? I mean, how about if we really do this? And it's Arcanum only, and it's this trip to Iceland. And he went, yeah, why not? That'd be great. And so the really cool part is hopefully within like the next 10 days, we'll have it all the bits and pieces put together, so that we can get it emailed out and get people knowing this is coming. So yeah, that's kind of how it all started, and it took off in like this kind of odd direction. But I've gotten really good feedback from a number of masters, and I've actually gotten contacted by some other higher level apprentices that are interested in, can they do stuff, or what can they do? So it's really cool. It's definitely not what I expected, and at the same time I'm really glad it's doing what it's doing. Well, Pete made a statement to me when we talked, and I don't think he understood the power of the statement. And he explained kind of his philosophy, and it was, put it out there and see what happens, and kind of let the community, push it and move with it and grow. And it was at a point that I was kind of at a roadblock on how to move this and what to do with it. And when he said that, I went, wow, that's a really great idea. And it didn't hit me right then how to make it work for me. But over the next week, it started to make sense to, not really try to control this thing, but let it be its own thing. And so that's kind of what I've done, is I've approached people like earlier this week, Lisa Speakman of, she's an 80 Wheelers cohort, she's on the path to a protege, and she's kind of like, me and her kind of have a brother-sister relationship. It's a lot of fun. And I've been going, hey, we should do something. And so I asked her this week, and I've asked her a couple other times, and she goes, well, where are we going to go? I said, you pick it. That's the cool thing. I don't want to be the guy controlling where these go. And she goes, well, I want to go to Hungary. And I went, and I actually told her, I said, of all the places, that's the one you choose. And she goes, yeah, it's awesome. And I went, okay. So I started Google searching it and looking into it. And she's right. It's gorgeous. It's a spot that I would have never even guessed, with their gorgeous lavender fields and the old churches and awesome wineries. And so I went, okay, great. So I went and tracked down, somebody I could contact, and started putting the pieces together for this food, wine, and photography trip in Hungary. And so it's kind of like, I don't want to pick the places. I mean, I want to make sure I go where I want to have fun, but I don't want to be the guy driving, saying, hey, this is where we're going, this is what we're doing. And so, yeah, that's coming up. That'll be next year on the site. So it'll go up soon, so it lives there for the year. And then last week, so about 10 days ago, I reached out to Angela B. Pan and said, this is what I'm doing. I don't know even if you're interested. And she said, yeah, let's do a hangout. And so we were talking, and I explained everything to her. And I said, if you want to do something, let me know. And she goes, well, I'd really like to go to Japan. And I went, awesome. And so now I'm working on something, because that's what she wants to do. And so, because I really don't want to say, hey, here's what's available, this is what we're going to do. Coincidentally enough, when she said Japan, I really want to go to Japan. And so I already had contacted somebody to start working on something. And I really wanted to go see the snow monkeys, because I see all these awesome pictures of them, and I want my own. But she said, well, the cherry blossoms are amazing. And I went, yeah,
Nice.
and you can't do both. And so it's actually going to be a cherry blossom landscape trip in Japan next year.
Oh, wow. Oh, yeah,
So
that's so amazing.
so it's kind of really cool. And I haven't, this is, I guess I'm going to do this way. I really do owe Pete a thank you. So thank you, Pete, for saying it that way, because
Yeah,
you really did help me come over my roadblock and shape this.
yeah,
So
yeah. But that advice though, that's exactly what Pete, Trey, and Curtis, they all kind of do with the Arcanum, is they let
hmm
it kind of grow organically and don't try to control it too much, and
right.
yeah, which can be so hard in a business when you're pouring all your time and energy and your own money and stuff into it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, so but it's definitely, there's parts of it that are like, I just want to make this just do this, but I'm looking big picture. And I think long term down the road, this is going to be a much better solution. So yeah, so I was really excited about that. So
Yeah, so I think you probably answered a lot of my next questions or touched on them a little bit. But yeah, tell us, what are your plans like? What's the travel experience like going on one of these travel workshops with ShutterClick Adventures?
yeah, so there's two different things that I'm really looking at doing, and one of them I'm still definitely growing more. I'm trying to do more workshop-based type curriculum inside the U.S. Mostly because it's easier to get a room to hold a small class or whatever. So you can go out and shoot and come back and plug your photos in and show somebody how to process them more, and do that. So I'm trying to do some more workshop-oriented stuff, or more in-depth workshop-oriented stuff with the post-processing as a workshop. And then the photo adventures are go to the locations, lots of hands-on on like how to look and find the shots and compose the shots and take the shots and bracketing and so if you want to for HDR or whatever your style is, and help people capture those moments and those landscapes and those the animals and everything that way. But with traveling, depending on where you go and what countries you're in, it's not always easy to find a place that you can say, hey, let's have 6 or 8 people break out a laptop, everybody plug in, and let's sit and spend 2 or 3 hours processing your photos.
Yeah, the
So
minibus just isn't big enough for that kind of thing, right?
yeah, I mean, and so it gets tough. And so my thought was, well, if we do workshops inside the United States and you want to learn how to post-process photos and stuff like that, that's what the workshops are for. But if you want to do a photo adventure, I feel obligated, if you decide to come play in Vietnam with me and AD, our goal is to get you as many great photos as possible in the allotted amount of time. Well, if we're sitting back going, okay, we're going to sit in this conference room for 5 hours today and process photos, we're not really doing our due diligence to you for the cost of the trip. And so my thoughts were, on those adventures, let's focus on shooting, lots of shooting and helping people capture the shots. And then I'm actually working on some, and it's going to be a growing process, but on some short tutorials on how to edit some of those things, so when they get back, that they'll have access to this small 10 or 15 video library to help them kind of process it. And obviously I'll make myself available to help answer questions to them and stuff like that to help process those photos. But if somebody spends a couple $1,000 on a trip and then buys a plane ticket, I think they expect to shoot as much as possible.
Yep, for sure.
So
Yep. Yep. Okay. So
yeah,
yeah, and I totally agree with that. I think, I mean, well, it depends on the person as well. Like I know what it was like, trying to learn the post-processing. It's just as much of creating a good image. But yeah, no, it's definitely good to know if you're spending that kind of money, you're getting the maximum shooting time, for sure.
right.
Yep.
And that's what it came down to. It was,
Yep.
it's because like I lived in northern Minnesota for years, so we've got a couple workshops over on the North Shore that are waterfalls. Well, so you can go shoot the waterfalls during the day, and after dinner, sit around because there's not a whole lot to shoot. I mean, you can't go shoot them. Well, you can go light paint them at night and stuff. So there'll be some of that. But for 2 nights during it's a 4-day workshop. So for 2 of the nights, we sit and process photos if people want it, or if they really want to keep shooting, we're open. But there's a little give and take on those. But yeah, like you said, you want as much shooting time as possible if you spend money to travel to another country.
Yep.
Go out and shoot night shots, go shoot, whatever, but that's what people want.
Yep, for sure. So yeah, what's the price range of your workshops then? You sort of mentioned a couple of $1,000s. Is that?
So workshops in the country are about $1,500, or average $1,500. There's one that's in South Dakota that's more, but it's because there's a rescue ranch for wild mustangs, and so for one of the days, we get an exclusive on it to go shoot wild horses on an Indian reservation land, and there's a donation. There's a cost for it, plus part of that trip actually goes back to them as a donation to help support their cause. So that's definitely on there because I guess that leads to the donation part is I kind of feel if you get to travel as a photographer, you're lucky. There's a lot of people that would dream to do that, and so one of the things that I'm working out in the details actually now is that a percentage of all the profits from every trip will actually go back to a charity called Sun in My Heart.
Okay.
So.
Yeah.
And they help build homes and schools and deal with a lot of stuff in third world countries.
Oh, cool, great. Just answered my next question. I was just about to ask you.
Yeah, they do homes, schools, supplies, stuff like that in Vietnam, Bhutan, India, and a bunch of those Southeast Asia countries. They're doing some stuff. They're working on doing some stuff in Africa, and so I'm doing. I want to help support that cause too.
Yeah. Oh, awesome. That's fantastic. What locations do you offer at the moment, and what are you hoping to offer in the future?
Vietnam, Scotland, and Peru for photo adventures.
Yep.
And then there's 6 or 8 locations for photography workshops. There's a couple times in Minnesota to shoot waterfalls. The Upper Peninsula of Michigan, which is above Wisconsin, has phenomenal waterfalls and fall colors. So there's one there. There's one in South Dakota. There's one in Utah, south of Moab, around Moab. I think that's it at the moment.
Yep, at the moment, but plenty more to come. That's awesome.
Plenty more to come.
Yeah.
Yeah, this year there's probably not going to be any more for 2015 just because it's the year started. People have kind of started planning their stuff, and I've kind of loaded stuff between now and the end of the year. I've got coming this year still Nepal. There's a Nepal trip coming that's going to go on the site for this year, and possibly a Croatia trip. So for this year, but then that's everything for this year.
Yeah.
So yeah, the Croatia trip will be fun. I don't know if there's any Game of Thrones lovers out there, but part of it's all shot in Croatia. So we actually go to the same places that they shot, and then to this awesome national park with tons of waterfalls and everything. So.
Which sections of Game of Thrones are shot in Croatia?
It is, and I can actually.
Okay.
Huh?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, show me. Yep. Or tell me. Yeah.
Yeah, I can actually. Let's see. So, and I'm a Game of Thrones fan, so that's what kind of started this, and it actually kind of started off as a joking around with somebody in the cohort, and then I went, why couldn't I do it? And one thing led to another. So it's where was it? Here it is. So the southern any of the southern scenes, King's Landing. Let's see.
All right.
So it's a lot of the King's Land, the walls of. Let's see here. It's actually I don't know a good way to show all this. There's a good chunk of it. that was shot here. Here's a picture of it. So this is one of them. So that's actually what they used in for that's actually a town a town in Croatia that was King's Landing.
Yep. Wow.
And then they've got all kinds of other islands and the sanctuaries and the churches and stuff are there. And so it's like this whole everything that was shot down around King's Landing is for the most part Croatia. So
right. Okay. Yep.
So yeah, so it was kind of cool. It was so I started digging into it. This is the garden from the garden scenes. They they cleaned it up.
Yeah.
And so I went and so there's actually I found a wonderful company that let's see, I'm not doing this for a while, am I? Let's go back twice. And that actually I sent them a list and said, here's exactly what I want to do. Can you do this? And it was really cool because I didn't tell him why or anything. And the guy got back to me and was like, so you've seen Game of Thrones?
Yeah.
And I went, that's awesome. So it has those, and then the waterfalls there. I'll show one picture of these. Let's see if we can find a good one real quick. Are really cool. They it's a national park, so you can walk all the way around they got these awesome paths in here, and so they've got that's a little picture. Let's see if we can find a bigger one. They've got these awesome, amazing waterfalls in this place, in this path system.
Yeah.
And yeah, here's a pretty good one. This will work. And so you can walk on these paths, and there's tons and tons of waterfalls. And so part of it's to go shoot this landscape in the mountainous region to get there.
Wow, that looks awesome.
Yeah. So yeah. so that was kind of funny because I didn't even think the guy would catch on. I kind of listed out all the places I wanted to see, and he knew like that what I was wanting. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, of course.
So yeah.
Yeah. So you're going to be posting all of your photos for your trips this year on your feeds, right? I can follow this?
Oh yeah, very much so.
Yeah. Good.
There's actually soon. Yeah. So as the trips go, they'll go. There'll be photos on its own blog, photos in my feeds, yeah. So that's kind of what the goal is, though. Is I'll be showing those and having fun doing that.
Yep. Awesome. Okay. Well. That seems like a pretty good place to finish up.
Yep.
Yeah, where can people find you and ShutterClick Adventures?
It's just shutterclickadventures.com.
Yep.
And from there they can see the trips. There's some other travel stuff on there. I've been trying to work on writing travel tips and blog stuff and equipment care when you travel and that kind of stuff. So.
Yep. Awesome. And if there's anybody else who thinks that they might want to run an adventure through you or something like that, they should contact you as well?
Bottom of the page.
Yep.
Here, I'll pull it up here real quick.
Yep.
Make sure it flips on here. So here's the site. So if you scroll to the very bottom, and if people want to do stuff, there's a link down here that says "Work with Us," and if they click on it, they get a little form that they can fill out, answer some questions, and send it over. And then from there, I'll reach back out to them and see what we can do.
Yep.
So, because that happened today, I'll throw a plug out to him because he has some amazing photos and he's from Minnesota, so that definitely helps.
Yeah.
I couldn't tell you whose cohort he's in.
Yeah.
I know he's in one based on the message he sent me, but it's Gage Salyards.
Oh, yes. I know the name.
Salyards. He shot me a message today and said, "Hey, can we do something?" And I'm gonna talk to him sometime this weekend because he has some really amazing photos and some of the spots that I really like going to. So. Yeah. I saw him. Okay, yep, I know right where what he's doing. So that was pretty cool that he piped up and asked. I give him a lot of credit because a lot of times people don't like asking for stuff like that. So
yeah, Yeah. Oh, wow. It's awesome. It's been so exciting to chat with you about all of this. I love travel, and so yeah, this has been awesome, and I hope I get to do a trip with you guys at some point soon. That'll be awesome. And yeah, thanks to everybody for watching. And yeah, I'll just finish it up there.